Hello, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. And on my continuing series on making the move from Windows 10 to Linux Mint, I'm going to be talking about the whole idea of too much Linux. And I'm going to get into what that means here in a bit. But if you have not seen it, you can watch my original episode on how to install VirtualBox, and then after that, how to install Linux Mint inside the VirtualBox. I'll leave that link in the description below or somewhere up here. So, what am I talking about when I talk about too much Linux? Well, if you're brand new to the Linux world, there are many different versions of Linux. You know, most people who use Windows or Mac, they're used to using one or maybe even two versions of that operating system. Typically, the ones that you buy at the store is usually like the home version, you know, that's made for basically the general user and everybody else, okay? But then there's also ones that are specifically made for business classes, the enterprise versions, and there's also mobile versions as well. Now, in the Linux world, there are many different versions, and those are called distributions. So if you go to the linux.com, it talks about different versions, you know, of Linux or distributions. Because Linux is open source, it is freely available for people to modify. A lot of people and companies make their own versions of Linux, and the actual exact term is GNU Linux. So Linux is actually the kernel, and then GNU is all the packages, and then this nice pretty Windows that you see, that's the Windows system, okay? Because really what Linux is, and every operating system underneath it is that, you know, it's just, that's really what it is underneath it, okay? So those are just a general explanation of what distributions are. And if you go to a site like DistroWatch, this basically keeps track of all the most popular Linux versions or distributions. And there are quite literally hundreds of versions, and maybe even thousands if you don't include the ones that people modify themselves that aren't on here. But typically you'll always see Mint at the top, you know, for a reason, because people really love the stability, which is what I like, the performance and the support that it has, okay? So Debian and Ubuntu, this is the top ones, but basically Mint is basically based on both of these. So pretty much Ubuntu is based upon Debian, and then Mint is based upon Ubuntu. So underneath it all, they're pretty much the same, okay? So there are a lot of different versions of Linux, and with that being said, you know, you can always go and try out so many different versions, and there's always new releases. But for me, I like to keep to one version. I don't really like to upgrade very often. So with that being said, all my tutorials, they're actually being done on Linux Mint version 17.3, which is Rosa. So if you actually go to the Linux Mint website right now, the newest version is Linux Mint 18. And a lot of times when a new version comes out, as with any operating system, not everything has been worked out. You know, there still might be some bugs. And most importantly, not all the software that is made for it, not all of it might be upgraded or updated, okay? This even happens on, you know, Windows and Mac as well. When there's a new version, there's going to be bugs, and the software takes a while to catch up. So with all of that, I try not to upgrade my version of Linux. Usually I use the same version for quite a while, okay? So if you do go to the website and you wanted to use the version that I'm using, which is Linux Mint 17.3, you know, go here to download, and then right click or just click here and go to all versions, and I already have it open here. And see, when you go to all versions, you could download older versions like I have here. And they have older versions quite a while back, you know. But I'm on 17.3 Rosa. And so basically, that's quickly what I wanted to talk about today. If you are coming in from Linux and for the first time, and you are watching my tutorials, just know that I am using Linux Mint 17.3 Rosa. I probably won't switch to 18 anytime soon. Maybe next year, I'm not sure, because I really do like, you know, Rosa, unless there was some feature that I really wanted in 18, okay? But most of the improvements in 18, they're mainly under the hood, and it's mostly things that you can't see, and there's not like a dramatic difference between the two. So that's really basically just what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about how there can be too much Linux because there's so many different versions, and as you get into this more, you'll probably try a lot of these, which is great, you know, but after a while, you just want to use your operating system just on a regular basis. Just use it as your operating system, your main operating system. And if you're constantly switching distributions or version of Linux, that could make it difficult because you're trying out new things and not everything might work the way you want. And so if you're the type who likes to try out a lot of different operating systems or tools or software and so forth, then Linux is great for that. But at the same time, if you want something that is stable, that'll work, then I just recommend you just stick with Mint. Okay, so that's pretty much it for my quick video on Linux distributions and why I use 17.3. If you had any ideas or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment area below. And as always, I am on Snapchat at Geek Outdoors. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.